reflects how great of a community this is. I'd also like to thank the MEMA, Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, American Red Cross, Liberty Utilities, and the Mansfield MEMA CERT program, who all came to our assistance last night. Residents who still have issues or concerns, I would like you to, let you know that the town is here to help. Please call 508-695-1212. And again, any resident that needs help, please call us, let us know. I also encourage you to download the Code Red app. That is a management system that we use for notification here, as well as C-Click Fix that we use. You can report any kind of issues that you're having. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mark Hollowell, our Director of Public Works.
Good morning, Mark Hollowell, Hollowell. I'm the Director of Public Works. So this is the second large event that we've had in 3 days. On Saturday afternoon, we had a significant storm, over 4 inches in our downtown area, which is exacerbated by the 10 Mile River, which flows behind us and through the downtown, flooding a number of areas and businesses throughout town. Our team spent a number of hours here cleaning that up on Saturday, spent all day Monday cleaning the roads, clearing the catch basins, only to have a storm last night of about 5 inches. The ground was saturated. We had a significant amount of undermining of roadways, a number of locations that were temporarily blocked, and we had a number of residents who ignored the blocked areas and decided to drive their cars through there anyway, getting them stuck, making our work more difficult. One of the things people need to know in events like this, you really need to stay off the road if you can. You really need to abide by the barricades that we have set up. It just makes our job more difficult. I had a number of personnel in. It's already difficult when you have falling trees, roadways that you can't tell whether or not they're undermined, and having to deal with stranded motorists just makes it more difficult. We are continuing the operations today. We've already worked on repairing one road to get it back into service. We have several others that we're working on, and then we start working on issues going back towards people's driveways and other potholes and things like that, making sandbags and gearing up for our next storm, which is some rain tomorrow and then more during the weekend. I do want to thank my DPW staff for doing an excellent job last night. It was not easy, and they were all back at it at 6 o'clock this morning, so I do appreciate the efforts of my staff, as well as the fire department, electric department, and police for all their assistance in this endeavor. Chief?
Good morning, everybody. Chris Coleman, CHRISCOLEMAN. I'm the Fire Chief and the Emergency Management Director for North Attleborough. I'd like to start by thanking the members of the North Attleborough Fire Department, Police Department, Public Works, Electric, town employees, and our mutual aid partners last night. This is one of the most severe storms I've seen in my career as a firefighter for the last 26 years in the town, of how quickly the rain came down and how quickly the water rose overnight. Our crews made over a dozen rescues last night from vehicles and houses in the south end of town. We received mutual aid from over 20 communities last night, from as far away as Wareham and Onset to Smithfield, Rhode Island. We activated the Bristol County Technical Rescue Team with their swift water assets to assist with evacuations. We also activated a structural task force within the fire mobilization plan throughout the state, bringing those fire apparatus in. In total, we had about 120 firefighters in town last night, handling 150 calls of service. We had all the calls cleared for the most part by midnight last night, and today we're still receiving calls for flooded basements and people in need. As Mr. Borg stated, we're closely monitoring the weather for the next couple days, and with the hurricane potentially off our coast over the weekend, and we're prepared. At this time, I'll give it over to Mr. Borg again.
Pete Schiffman.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Peter Schiffman, North Attleborough Electric Department, SCHIFFMAN. I'm the general manager, and I just want to first thank the folks, our line crew that came out last night. We're a small municipal electric department. We cover just the North Attleborough territory. Last night we had an unprecedented type of event, something that's very difficult to prepare for because it's flooding. Typically we deal with rain, wind, right? Wind is usually the number one enemy for us. The flooding is what really got us. We had some linemen who had to leave their families, had flooding in their basement, things like that. So, I mean, real kudos goes out to them for getting us back in power this morning, to everybody that we have. Around 6 o'clock last night is when things started to escalate for us. We had the south end of town around the mall. We had a tree actually come down on a large switch pole behind the mall, which took out customers going back to our substation on Landry Avenue, all the way down to the southwest part of town. Right when we were thinking that was clear, the flooding is what caused another switch to go and trip. Actually completely fail, complete meltdown down by the south end of town off of Route 1 near the old Christmas tree shop building, Guitar Center, that area. The issue was there was about 3 feet of water. We couldn't access the equipment till 2 or 3 hours after that event, and then we were able to get in there, assess the damage, and sure enough, the water that had gotten into that switch caused a failure, which took out 2 additional circuits. Most of it was commercial and industrial customers down on the south end of Route 1, but by 10:45 last night, we had the majority of customers back in service. We had about 30 commercial, industrial customers still out of power. We still have some issues or scattered incidents where we have customers whose basements are flooded, unsafe conditions, and we have pulled power from that to try to create a safer environment for them. As of this morning, all of Route 1 is back in service, and our switch was replaced. 6 of our line crew, a number of our substation folks and meter department were out all night checking in with police, fire. I was part of the EOC for a little while last night until we broke down and reassembled this morning. So great job to the town, great job to the fire, DPW, everybody's on top of it here. It's actually a joy to be part of the team here, so thank you.
All right, at this time, we'll take your questions.
Chief, can you just explain to us some of the rescues that took place last night? Were they all vehicles? Were there people trapped in their homes? What was it?
So we had a variety of vehicles, people trapped in them in the southwest part of town, specifically in the Payne Road area. Additionally, we had a section of Payne Road in the area of 392. We had about a dozen homes that were completely underwater. We sent a task force down there led by the Foxborough Fire Chief, and they made contact with all of the residents in that area. We did evacuate one resident that went to a family residence for shelter, and the other is sheltered in place as the water was quickly receding.
Now, East Street floods all the time. Residents in that complex over there, their cars are still trapped. What's your advice to people as they navigate the upcoming storm?
So we work closely with 21 East Street regarding this. There is a parking plan and emergency plan in place. I would encourage the residents to speak with the management company over there and follow the emergency plan that they have and monitor the weather closely over the next couple of days.
East Street too. I saw a couple people zipping up and down when it's still flooded. What's your message to them?
Yeah, East Street, obviously, that goes for any street, right? Turn around, don't drown is the key phrase. If you see flooded waters, do not drive through it. The car is not going to make it, and then it's just going to require you to be rescued by the fire department.
Chief, any injuries, people sent to the hospital, anything like that last night?
So no civilian injuries. We did have a firefighter injured. He's stable, and that's what I have right now for information.
Chief, there were posts on social media last night that an elderly woman, basement was flooding, what should I do? People said, call the fire department, they'll pump out the basement. Is that something you do?
No, right now we don't pump out basements. In consultation with DEP many years ago, there was concerns about items in the basements, so we refer them to a restoration company. We will come out, investigate, check the utilities to make sure that they are okay, and if we have to isolate them to reduce any fire threat, we'll do that.
Can I ask somebody from the town a question? We see flooding over here all the
Yep.
time. When it comes to the planning board, what type of preparation went into that, and why was the project allowed to move forward in a known flood zone?
So that area is flooded for decades now, and we've worked with the company. We've had engineering studies done, and Mark can talk about the number of different planning board. That predated my time here as the town manager, but it's been an ongoing issue, and we've worked with both the leasing company and the residents to come to a resolution and resolve that. But it has historically flooded over the years.
So what's the resolution? People are still having their
There is a
cars
parking plan, an emergency parking plan that's in place that they agreed to with the planning board. and there's a notification system. We've met with the management company in the past and talked through what their responsibilities were, right? If residents have an issue, feel free to reach out to us, right? And also reach out to the management company about that parking situation.
Last question. What areas are you most concerned about with the upcoming rain that's still going to be here for the next week?
I'll let Mark answer that because I know it's probably roadways is what I'd say. But emergency preparedness and making sure people are safe.
Yeah, one of the things you got to understand is, especially after storm like this, the roads start to get saturated. Sometimes they get undermined, and which, so everyone understands, undermine is the gravel that is under the asphalt gets eroded away. The asphalt, being 4 to 6 inches thick in some places, will actually bridge over that, and at some point, if you keep getting these types of rainstorms, it might have catastrophic failure. And that's one of the issues. If we block off a road and people drive through it, you might not just be driving through a puddle, you might be driving through a 4-foot hole. You know, there are areas in town where we literally had a gravel road that had 3 or 4 foot wide by 2.5 foot deep rut over 100 feet on the road. That absolutely would have destroyed a car, possibly killed somebody if they drove into it without knowing about it. We went out and addressed that as an emergency, but that's probably our biggest concern now, as well as we're getting into this storm. We had a little bit last night, right at the end of the storm, where it's so saturated that tree root systems get undermined and those start falling around. If you have a storm coming up that has a high wind, these last 2 storms did not have a high wind, so we didn't worry about that. But moving forward with a hurricane coming, if you have gale force winds with saturation like this, you could easily overtop some trees.
And where did you see those extreme cases?
Those were all in the south part of town where we got over 5 inches. Rosanna Road was one of those. As we mentioned, Hoppin Hill and Old Post Road along the 7 Mile River, where the roadway was completely eroded, exposing drainage, almost knocking over a telephone pole, and cutting out a bridge that connects us to the city of Attleborough.
So if you're in this area, probably the best idea to not go in your car if you don't necessarily have to.
Nope.
Try what you guys.
Yeah, if you're having a severe storm and you can't assure yourself that the road in front of you is safe, turn around and go back and wait for it to end. Our roads actually, drainage systems are built for a 25-year storm. So they're built for 2-3 inches over the course of a day. Our drainage system will take that very well. You get 3 or 4 inches within an hour. Most drainage systems can't handle that, but they do catch up. So most of our town, within an hour or two after it stopped raining, was caught back up. We do have some areas that are low-lying or have other issues that back up, but it's in the residents' best interest to stay home, watch it rain. Same thing when it snows, stay home, wait for it to finish, and then go out and start to assess any damage.
All right,
Any
thank you,
talk
everybody.
on the town side about redredging the river over there?
Every day.
So, any movement on that? Will you let us know?
Yeah,
if
I
you
can
guys
talk
do
to
it?
that. So we have worked closely with Congressman Auchincloss, and we've secured a couple of earmarks to help us with the 10 Mile River dredging project that we've been talking about. It's been talked about for a long time, but I also look at this as a regional issue. It can't just be dredging in North Attleborough alone. The 10 Mile River runs through a couple of communities, right? We're reaching out and starting to work with all the other, both Plainville and Attleborough, because if we dredge in our part, the sediment from Plainville will just come down and fill it in. But we've been actively working that and securing funds, and I know Mark's done some engineering studies for us, and so we're looking to probably start that as soon as possible and put the funding in place to make it happen.
All right,
Thank you.
Everybody. If anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me. Okay?